approach the last race in the round of 12, we still have a lot of driver safety concerns to talk about, plus a team announces their 2023 driver lineup, and one thing I expected and another thing I totally did not. This episode of Above the Yellow Line is presented by Shaq Gear. Hey race fans, it's Taylor, and welcome back to Above the Yellow Line, the show where we talk all about the NASCAR Cup Series. Of course, this episode we are going to preview the race at the ROVAL, talking about who you should have in your fantasy lineup, maybe who you shouldn't, but there is some NASCAR news we got to talk about. Speaking of Kaulig Racing, going into 2023 with their plans in their driver lineup, plus some driver updates talking about the ROVAL, who will be in the car and who will be out of the car. So let's get to it, starting with Down the Line, talking about key news from the sport from the past week. Starting off with the big announcement of the day, Kaulig Racing announced their 2023 lineup for the Cup Series and technically their Xfinity Series as well. They announced that AJ Allmendinger will be joining the Cup Series full-time for their team in 2023 in the number 16. They also confirmed that Justin Haley will stay in the 31 full-time in the Cup Series as well. We all know this isn't AJ Allmendinger's first rodeo in the Cup Series. He was full-time from 2007 to 2012, then he came back full-time from 2014 to 2018, was part-time working out some broadcasting things with NBC, then came back to Kaulig in 2019, part-time schedules, and then came full-time to Kaulig in the Xfinity Series in 2021. It's been a road for AJ Allmendinger, and I know he's talked about being really happy in the Xfinity Series. He's able to win, he's able to be competitive, so it did lead me to question, why come back full-time to Cup Racing now? I think he's ready. I think he's ready to make that move. Obviously, I am a little upset because we have a lot of road courses in the Xfinity Series schedule for the next year, and I think he would have dominated at those, but I think he's ready for the next challenge. Now, obviously, this leaves the question, who is filling his seat? And this is where my mind was blown a little bit, because the guy filling his seat in the number 16 in the Xfinity Series is Chandler Smith, running the number 18 for Kyle Busch Motorsports, right now a Toyota in the Camping World Truck Series, another Toyota that is being lost out to the Chevys. For Chandler Smith, let's talk about him first, then we'll broaden it back out to Kaulig Racing. For me, I think this is a fantastic move by him. Obviously, the future of Toyota is looking a little dim with drivers stepping away. Obviously, Kyle Busch being one of those main drivers stepping away. Brandon Jones stepped away. I also know that Tyler Reddick's going to be joining Toyota in 2024, so at least they're gaining a driver. But Chandler Smith was one of their successful drivers that I was thinking was going to carry them into the future. Now, not so much. Chandler Smith said in an interview with Bob Podcast that he kind of wanted to secure his future. He wanted to think of his family, where he saw a future at, where he saw himself growing and where he found stability. So that for Chandler Smith was major. And I totally think he's ready for this move. Fantastic stats this season as a whole. He has 3 wins this season. He has 14 top 10s, 8 top 5s, and out of his Truck Series starts as a whole, he has 5 wins to his career in the Truck Series. So a very accomplished driver. He's only 20 years old, which is incredible to say at 20 years old, moving into the Xfinity Series. He has the practice, he has the skills. I think he's ready to make that jump. I don't know if we're going to see a win out of him next year. That's what I would like to see, but you never know when you're moving to a new series for the first time full-time, so we'll have to see how Chandler Smith does. But back to Kaulig as a whole, we have questions. Is Landon Castle coming back? Yes, Landon Castle is supposed to come back to their Xfinity Series slate. And then the other question, Daniel Hemrick, where is he going? They would like to keep Daniel Hemrick on the team. Of course, they are still working out those details, though, and there is nothing that Kaulig has announced just yet. Going back to the Cup Series 2 with AJ Allmendinger joining his son, Justin Haley, I think it is a great match. Not only do they have a really good dynamic as teammates, but they are also very skilled and they have a diverse repertoire, I should say. AJ Allmendinger is really good at road courses. He's getting a lot better at super speedways, really good at mile and a halves. Justin Haley is incredible at super speedway races. He's done a lot better on the road courses, mile and a halves. He's getting a lot better at as well, some top 10s in that era as well. So I think they're building their team to be very successful in the future, and obviously when things switch on in the Cup Series, who knows how long that's going to take. I think AJ Allmendinger is there to stay for a few years, maybe longer. Justin Haley, I think, is there to stay. Chandler Smith would be an excellent guy to move up into the Cup Series in their program at some point. Maybe Landon Castle, if he wants to go back to the Cup Series full-time or something like that, he can do that too, but I think Kaulig is moving in the right direction, looking to the future, and I gotta say, Chevy as a whole is doing a really nice job securing their future. Ford, I think, is moving that direction. Toyota got to do some work. I don't know what they have to do. We've talked about this before on the show, but I think they've got to do some soul searching internally, figuring out where their development program is lacking, but they also have to start looking at young talent that they can bring through the pipeline, because now Kyle Busch is gone, Brandon Jones is gone, Chandler Smith is gone. We also know that KBM is going to probably be moving to a Chevy team. So that's another feeder team in the Toyota timeline that is gone. So major news there for Toyota, but a really big congratulations to Chandler Smith on moving into the Xfinity Series with Kaulig, and then AJ Allmendinger moving back to Cup full-time for Kaulig Racing. Move to some driver updates at the ROVAL. There are 3 drivers full-time that will not be racing at the ROVAL. Those drivers are Kurt Busch, as we know. Cody Ware made an announcement earlier this week saying that his foot and his ankle still aren't where it needs to be. He's not able to give his team 100%, so he will be missing out this weekend at the ROVAL to focus on his continued health. And then the big news too, along with all those other drivers that will be missing the ROVAL race, is Alex Bowman. He made a statement saying, quote, "With my health continuing to be my number one priority, I will not return to racing this weekend at the NASCAR Cup Series race at Charlotte Motor Speedway. I am continuing to make strides in my recovery to make sure I can return to competition at 100%. I appreciate Noah stepping into the number 48 Chevrolet again and will be cheering hard for my Ally Racing team this weekend. Thank you to everyone for your support during this time. It has not gone unheard or unseen, and I am overwhelmed by your support, Alex Bowman." Just to recap, Alex Bowman had a wreck at Texas Motor Speedway. That wreck caused him to have some concussion-like symptoms. He missed out last weekend at Talladega. He will now be missing out this week as well. We also have a statement from Jeff Andrews, president and general manager of Hendrick Motorsports, saying, "Alex's health is our first priority. We're focused on supporting his recovery and seeing him back in his race car when the time is right. Alex has a long career ahead of him, so we will invest in the necessary time and take our guidance from medical experts. We're putting no pressure on him to return before he's 100% ready." With all of this said, that means that Alex Bowman will not be moving on to the round of 8 in the playoffs, and his championship hopes will end here, which is a bummer because he was doing so well in the championship fight. I mean, I know the first half of the season for him was kind of wishy-washy. Of course, he had a win. He had some top 10s here and there, but every other weekend I felt like it was disaster for the team, and then the playoffs hit, and he seemed to be the only consistent driver at Hendrick Motorsports, in my opinion. So to see him out at this point sucks, and I hope he can have another run like he was starting to, move into going into next year when the championships happen. Of course, if he is in that round of 16 fight going for a championship, I hope he is next year. But of course, we're hoping for his continued health, and this brings up a lot of concerns as to, what is NASCAR doing to prevent this? Are we testing things? Well, they are actually testing at a facility in Ohio today, Wednesday, when I'm recording this, testing some new features on the car to see if they would work. And of course, if those features work or they have good results, they're going to implement them going into 2023. The features that they're testing are a new rear clip and a new rear bumper structure. That's a lot of words to say, as reported by Kelly Crandall. So hopefully that will help those drivers, because of course the concussion symptoms that we've seen from these drivers, from Kurt Busch and Alex Bowman, have come from when they've hit the car in the back where the bumper is. It's when they've backed that part of the car into the wall. It's caused their head either to move a certain way or something of the sort, causing those symptoms. So I'm hoping NASCAR has good results of this test and they can move forward into 2023, ensuring these drivers' safety a little bit more. Obviously, there was some comments on this when Alex Bowman released his second statement and even his first statement from drivers alike. Denny Hamlin and Kevin Harvick made some statements questioning the safety of the cars. Denny Hamlin said, quote, "Pretty disappointing that our sanctioning body refuses to acknowledge or accept any responsibility for the drivers getting hurt. It's the same, they said, we knew better. It's wrong these drivers continue to get taken advantage of by the system." Kevin Harvick also made some comments saying this was completely unacceptable that those in charge have let things get to this point. And this brings up two concerns for me. One, Noah Gragson is still going to be filling in for Alex Bowman. And as we've seen with Bowman and Kurt Busch, if you hit the cars a certain way, you're going to have concussion symptoms, is what we're seeing as a trend starting to happen. I feel like for Noah Gragson, this is a very big risk. He's going for an Xfinity Series title. I think he's the favorite to win it. He's done so well. He's had back-to-back wins this season. He's been phenomenal. And when you put yourself in a situation like this, when you're in a car that is not necessarily super safe for the drivers, as the drivers are saying, I fear that if he gets hit a certain way, he's going to have the same symptoms and his championship hopes are going to be affected. His health is going to be affected, most importantly. So I fear for Noah Gragson. The second issue I have is with some comments or some articles talking about Jeff Burton's response to drivers being outspoken on social media. Burton on Friday called a meeting with drivers to review safety-related data and slides from NASCAR and urged them to communicate through proper channels instead of airing grievances in the media. Here is my take on that, at least from what I'm seeing with an outside view. Take this with a grain of salt, as I am not a driver. I'm not within the industry working on these cars. I feel as if these drivers have been very clear since the beginning of the season, and even when we were testing last season, that these cars are not completely safe. There are still concerns. We still put out the car anyways. Granted, it has given us some great racing, some of my favorite racing I have seen in years, but that's also been at the cost of driver safety, equipment malfunction, etc. The drivers have also said that, hey, we've aired our grievances with the proper channels and nothing's been done, at least not fast enough. So now we have to turn to social media to get our voices heard, to make sure that our concerns are being heard by everybody. And we know with social media, when things are shared on social media over and over and over, retweeted, we start to see some changes happen. So I'm with the drivers a little bit on this one. I feel like it is appropriate to share your concerns on social media. Obviously, there's a right and a wrong way to do it, but when you're concerned for your health, I feel like that is a necessary step that they have to take. Obviously, Talladega was pretty tame, thank God, in my opinion. I didn't want to see any big wrecks. No drivers were seriously injured, at least in the Cup Series, of course. We talked about what happened in the Truck Series with Jordan Anderson, and we're hoping that he is recovering well. He gave us some updates saying he had to go back to the hospital due to some symptoms of his injuries, but he's doing fine. He's recovering well. So our thoughts still continue to be with Jordan Anderson, but I am glad on the Cup side of things that nothing serious happened at Talladega, and I know that kind of died down the safety conversations, maybe just a little bit, or at least how heightened they were on social media, but I am hoping that NASCAR continues this test and that we see some good results that we can implement in 2023. But what do you think of all that? Let me know in the comments below, especially what you think of the Kaulig move, who's going to the Cup Series in 2023, and all that kind of stuff. Now it is time to go to our preview of the Bank of America ROVAL 400, starting with your track facts and driver stats. Starting with your track facts, there are 17 turns at the ROVAL. Stages 1 and 2 are 25 laps, and the final stage is 59 laps. The track length is 2.28 miles, and the race length is 109 laps, or 252.88 miles to be exact. Now with our driver stats, the last driver to win at the track is Kyle Larson. The active driver with the most track wins is Chase Elliott with 2. The active driver with the best average finish at the track, no surprise, is Chase Elliott with an average finishing position of 5. The team with the most track wins is obviously Hendrick Motorsports, capturing all 3 wins that the ROVAL has offered. And finally, the wins by manufacturer, no surprise here. If Hendrick Motorsports has 3 wins, we've only been to the ROVAL 3 times. Chevrolet has 3 wins, Ford has 0, and Toyota has 0. All this information from driveraverages.com. Now it's time to close it out with our to watch, to worry for the race weekend at the ROVAL. We're going to start with our guys to worry about. If you remember in the episode that we did on Monday for Above the Yellow Line, we looked at the point standings and we saw the guys that are right above the cutoff line and right below the cutoff line. I gotta say, first off, I am worried about Chase Briscoe. I'm not saying that these tracks are not his strong suit. He's done really well at road courses before, and obviously we know last year he was about to win one, then there was a violation, so we have that to remember as well. But with him only being +0 to the good when the guy right below him -0 to the bad, I guess, words, is Austin Cindric, I'd be a little concerned with where he stands. So because of that, I'm going to be worrying about Chase Briscoe. In my opinion, like I said earlier this week, he has to finish for me in the top 5 or the top 10 to at least guarantee himself getting into the next round, if at all possible. Here's the thing, I know I kind of championed Austin Cindric to get into the next round as well. He's only -0 to the bad. But I'm also going to be worried about him because I think it would be a total shame on this track if you didn't make it to the next round. The road courses favor him, but I'm also concerned because he has Byron and Bell right below him below the cutoff line. Bell is a really good road course racer. He has that experience. I think he could honestly end up knocking out Chase Briscoe and maybe even Austin Cindric. Byron has a little bit of a ways to climb, but I think he could potentially make his way back if he's able to make enough passes during the day and gain enough stage points. So for that reason, though, I'm going to be worried about Austin Cindric as well. Finally, my 2 drivers to watch. This shouldn't be a big shocker to you guys, but Elliott is one of them. Obviously, he won at Talladega in a last lap pass. That team is so good at carrying momentum into the next rounds or into the next race. I think Chase Elliott has a really good chance winning at the ROVAL, granted that he has won at this track 2 times before, so I think Chase Elliott is one to definitely watch and have in your fantasy lineups. I also think that you should probably have Kyle Larson in your fantasy lineup. I know he's been wishy-washy this season. Not usually wishy-washy, because that's not what we know Kyle Larson to be, especially after last season. But this race in particular, I think you should have him in your lineup. I think he's a shoo-in to win if he's going to be contending with his teammate Chase Elliott. Obviously, he won the race last year, and seeing if he can go back-to-back. So all things considered, I think Chase Elliott and Kyle Larson are good drivers to have in your fantasy lineups. I think you could put Austin Cindric in there too. I know that I said I'm concerned for him, but I think that you should have him in your lineup, maybe in the garage, just in case. Other drivers that I might consider putting in your lineup, honestly, Kevin Harvick, I think could do pretty well at the ROVAL. William Byron, potentially. I know he's below the cutoff line, but perhaps you could put him in there. One driver I would avoid completely, sorry Brad Keselowski, but Brad Keselowski, he spins at road courses a lot. I know it's kind of a risk when you put him in a road course race in your fantasy lineup, but maybe avoid him this time until I see some consistency. Then we can put him in our lineup. But Brad Keselowski is one I would definitely avoid. So who are your to watch, to worry for the ROVAL race? Let me know in the comments below. And with that, we are done with this episode of Above the Yellow Line, the show where we talk all about the NASCAR Cup Series. 2 announcements. 1, this month is Dysautonomia Awareness Month. If you're like, Taylor, what the heck is that word? What does it mean? I have a video on this page talking all about that and how the illness affects myself and many others, spreading some awareness this month, so make sure you check out that video to learn a little bit more about the illness. Also, we have a gaming stream on Friday. Not sure exactly what I'm going to play yet, probably a newer NASCAR game, so if you want to have some input onto what we play, make sure you follow me on Twitter and answer the question that I posted in the comments, but also my Twitter handle, if you should know, is @_TaylorKitchen_. For post-race polls and daily questions, and search ATYL on all your favorite podcasting platforms. Also, make sure to check out TobyChristieCom on all social platforms. Also, make sure to visit the website to get more great motorsports content. Last but not least, I want to thank Doordash and Shaq Gear for supporting ATYL and all of us at TobyChristie.com. If you want to show your support, make sure to use the promo code NASCAR30 to get 30% off your first Doordash order. And if you want to show Shaq Gear some love, make sure to use the promo code MAMBA34 at checkout to get 20% off your order. You can find all of these pages and links in the description below, but before you check those out, make sure to like this video, subscribe to the channel, share this with your friends and family, and guys, thank you so much for supporting us here at Above the Yellow Line and TobyChristie.com, and until next time, I'll see ya.